Hello and welcome to the Brit Irons Week 16 preview episode. I'm your host James, and as ever, I'm joined by my good friends Matt and Sam. Now, before we jump into things, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to the UKTouchdown.com. It is a great source of signed NFL and college memorabilia in the UK. Everything is fully verified, so it's 100% legit. You know exactly what you're getting for your money. So it's a great place to maybe get I was gonna say a Christmas present, but hopefully you got that sorted by now when this comes out.
Might be a bit late for that.
But maybe a New Year's present, or a birthday present in the future.
Do people
maybe.
do New Year's presents?
You will. I think that was our plan, wasn't it?
My family do actually.
Oh.
Get a nice little New Year's present, Boxing Day present. It's great. Loads of presents.
There you go, Sam. Don't question.
Yeah.
Don't question me. But yeah, UKTouchdown.com.
Sorry, Carl.
UKTouchdown.com. Go check it out. But boys, another big slate of games this week. It's week 16. One more week after this one, so 2 more games to play for each team. Let's just jump straight into it. Let's talk about the Vikings going in to play the Saints this week. 2 teams on the opposite side of the playoff spectrum. I think we can all agree. Does this make this, a sort of a nothing game, or are both teams going to be fully fighting for it?
I think the Vikings are going to be really fighting for it. I think they're not cut and dry yet. They're not out of it. It's a long and they've got to rely on other teams at this point. But they're coming out saying, right, let's just try and win out. They're coming off a loss to the Bears, which I think was the more important game when it comes to them making the playoffs here as a wildcard team. But the whole time there's a chance for a team, especially one like the Vikings that, they've been unlucky with injuries on defense and that side of the ball's let them down. This offense is going to feel like they should be a playoff team. They've had players stepping up all over the place. Kirk Cousins has looked like he's worth the money finally. Dalvin Cook stayed relatively healthy by his standards, and I think they're going to want to come out there and say, we're not done yet. And beating the Saints, it's a statement way to do it, but then again, beating the Saints is a lot easier said than done.
I kind of take the flip side of where Matt's coming at this. I think the reason this game's a really interesting game for me is with the Saints, there's talk of maybe Drew Brees coming back and getting into that lineup. And with Drew Brees coming back, this Saints team they're in the playoffs. They are going to have playoff games, and from what we've seen from Drew Brees this year, this is probably his last year.
Should be.
So this is probably Drew Brees' last shot at a second Lombardi. Just cement himself in that kind of Hall of Fame, that all-time thing. If he can't come out against the Vikings and show what he needs to, then that's going to give me worries for the Saints going forwards, because this is a team that I think everyone thinks should be at least an NFC contender, should be up there with the Packers competing for that Super Bowl berth. So with Drew Brees coming back into the fold, I want to see the Saints come and annihilate this. And with a -7 spread, Vegas is favouring them. I don't like that -7 spread. I'm taking the Saints on a lean. Think the Vikings will keep this less than 7. I do like the over 51.5 over. I think there's a lot of points scored in this game. Just don't think it's a 7-point game.
No, I think I agree with you as well. And we have to remember the Vikings, I think they still have a 4% chance of making the playoffs at this point. So there is a chance, and they've got to win out the rest of the season, so they're going to be fired up, all guns blazing, going into this game. So, I think they can match the Saints on the day and cover the spread, like you say there, Sam, as well. So I'm in agreement with you as well, and hopefully that under/over 51.5 is beat, because that will be a hell of a game, game to watch.
Yeah, a lot of low over-unders this week as well, so it's quite nice when you get an exciting high one up there, especially as Matt said with Kirk Cousins kind of stepping up, scoring a lot of points. I think this is one to watch this week, especially on Christmas Day.
I think especially with the Breeze point as well, him playing last week, he started the game, 0-6 and a pick, which is dreadful, bad numbers. But he recovered the game, and he actually kind of brought him back into that and put up a bit of a fight. So I think he's had that game to kind of get back into it. I think we're still going to see issues with his arm. He's still not going to look like the Drew Brees that you expect to see on the field. But the whole time he's got Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas out on IR. So the whole time he's got Alvin Kamara there, he's going to make do. And But
I'd like to see. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'd like to see the Saints, and I'd like to see Drew Brees go out on a high.
no.
I know you
Nope.
won't. But I'd
Jealousy,
like to
do I
see it.
smell?
That's like me saying, I'd love to see the Eagles or Cowboys just, go out on a high this season. Like, as a Giants fan, you'd be like, no.
Not a chance. Not a
Granted,
chance.
yes.
James, do you want to see Big Ben and those Steelers go out on a high this year?
Oh,
love to see
no
that. I'd
way.
love to
No
see it.
way.
We'll get to that.
Well, come on, so I was going to say, but definitely not, and I've got high hopes for that one as well. So we'll see what happens there. But right, let's shift things on to another matchup. I believe this is a Boxing Day fixture.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To be precise, between the Buccaneers and the Lions. Buccaneers all but into the playoffs. I think 97% win chance, or playoff chance. Sorry, they got to win out. Win one game. I think it is now, and Lions and Falcons to play, so it should happen. And the Lions are out as well. They can't make playoffs at this point. So, do Bucks have what it takes, Matt?
I mean, yeah. The main thing in this game is the Lions. They're missing a number of defensive players. That I think it's their QB coach is calling plays for them potentially this week. The interim head coach is out. This is a team that's got not a lot to play for, and now the whole team's in a bit disarray. I'm assuming the game will still happen. It might get pushed, but I doubt it being a Boxing Day one where it's almost a prime time equivalent. It's sort of one of those chosen games like the Thanksgiving stuff. They're going to really try and keep them where they are. But I mean, the Bucks should take this either way. I think the main thing I'm watching for here is against what is going to be a bad defense that's missing pieces. Do we still start slow? Because that's been our thing the last few weeks. We always start slow. So I'd quite comfortably bet money line, however, on that spread on the Bucks winning this. All I'm actually watching for is, do we still take 2 quarters to actually start playing football?
I'm also going to put you on the spot a little bit, Matt.
Oh, here we go.
An unpleasant
Here
way.
we go.
God.
You
boy.
You mentioned to me yesterday in passing. There's a
Did I?
scenario.
God.
No, there is a. I know
I
this
just,
is a
I
horrible
just
thing
got
to
visions
do,
of
so-
Match being sat there and Sam just walking by asking the questions.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know
you
why.
mentioned-
I'm there
you
actually
mentioned
trying to
that
work and just went, yeah, sure, mate.
No, you mentioned that there's a scenario in which the Buccaneers play this out and they get the NFC East winner. Is it you need to become the 5th seed? Or the...
I can't remember the exact specifics on it now I'm thinking about it, but I believe it's the way it's set up currently. I think due to the kind of the games we've dropped against certain teams and how it works, I think even if we win out, I think we're pretty much set that if we win out, we're the 5th seed and we play the winner of the NFC East. So we kind of continue that easy run of games. Not easy, but easier.
That makes this, to me, obviously the Bucks, like you said, they're getting the playoffs at this point, 9-7. What with the extra team, that makes this a must-win game for the Bucks. Because I at this point, I don't think the Bucks are good enough. I don't think the Bucks are going all the way. I think they've got some major flaws, but they can buy themselves a week's worth of practice by getting that NFC East team. Because as much as I actually think the Washington football team aren't a blowover, I think they've got a good defense.
Oh yeah, they can make problems.
It will be their easiest playoff game. So the Bucks need to win out to buy themselves that week, get everyone more in sync, and that is their best shot. So the Bucks have got to win this game. In terms of spread, I don't like -9.5 just because
Really?
Wow,
just because
really?
of what the Bucks have done this year, and also the Lions have a bit of a habit. The Lions have a bit of a habit of coming out early and in the first 2 quarters scoring points. And the Bucks have kind of had a habit of not being great in the first quarter or two. So I think this could be within 9.5. I don't like the 54 over just because I'm not sure that the Bucks can score enough points for the Lions. Because I think the Lions get 2 touchdowns here, max.
Nah, I can't see. I could agree with you on the under/over 100%.
Actually,
but the
yeah,
spread,
clearing 40. Yeah.
the spread it favours the Bucks. I'm going to take it. It's a bottom 10 defense for the Lions. Lions season is done. What are they playing for? Where's the motivation going to be? Just not there. And like you said, the Bucks have everything to play for. A lot to prove. This is the game to do it. So just on that basis, I think take the Bucks on the spread.
We'll see. When the
We'll
money's
prove
on
you
on
prove you wrong,
Boxing Day,
mate.
when
Yeah.
the money's
Well.
on there.
Yeah, we'll see, but you'll be proved wrong, so it doesn't really matter what you see.
I want to gift that little woo from Sam there, that when I'm winning with all my when I'm sat there on Boxing Day eating my leftovers and I've got all my money, it's on the Bucks and it's coming in. I just want that to play over and over to him. just on repeat.
Oh, we need that. We need to get that sorted. I think that's a great idea. And now you've done it as well, so we can use that also. Oh God! But let's get back to the football and let's talk about the other. Well, actually, there's 3 games on Boxing Day. So the second game on Boxing Day sees the 49ers go into Arizona to play the Cardinals. Again, this is another game where it's all to play for the Cardinals, but on the flip side, the 49ers, they're out, nothing to play for here. Does that make a difference at all for this one, or are you taking? Maybe you are going to take the 49ers. Where do we have our money?
I think the one thing I'm looking at here is this is the Niners looking for an in-division upset. The Cardinals are currently sat there, the 7th seed. They're clinging in. You've got a Bears team that is on a charge, and the Cardinals haven't looked consistent at all. It's sort of what you're going to see each week. So I think there's a bit of this 49ers team. It's like, right, we've had our season ruined by injuries. We're going to come out and try and ruin the Cardinals season. Issue with that, at quarterback, they are just decimated. I mean, they've picked up the generational talent that is Josh Rosen. Because essentially, I think the only reason as well they've gone necessarily for him is because he's already on a practice squad. He's already cleared all the COVID protocols, so they don't have to wait 10 days to get him. They can bring him in and he's straight in. That's the main reason they picked him over so many other guys that are around there. Like, there was all talk being like, oh, it's the Niners, you had Cap before, why not bring Cap back? Because he won't clear in time. And they just need a backup quarterback for this game. And I mean, what was it, CJ Beathard's going to be the starter. We've seen what we've seen from him, which means maybe we're going to see a half of him. Maybe they throw Rosen in, but I think Rosen only goes in if they literally have to.
Yeah.
Because he's completely new to it all. So I think that is just purely they need someone to fill a shirt. And I mean, this game, the Cardinals, they should win it. Like, obviously, they got a win against the Eagles, resurgent Eagles with Jalen Hurts in there, a very different team to face now. But a game they should still be winning, and this is the same. If they want to be a playoff team, they've got to be able to beat this Niners team that's got not a lot left of what this Niners team should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the story of quite a few of these games where you've got teams that are vying for the playoffs in the hunt against teams that are done. The Cardinals are still fighting.
Yep.
The Niners are done. This comes down to me: has Kyler Murray got the cojones to stand up and go, no, we're a playoff team, and I'm going to lead them there. Because I actually don't think there's that much difference in these teams. The Niners are banged up, but the Cardinals, I mean, if you go back to what we said they were going to be before the start of the season, or what I thought they were going to be before the start of the season, I always thought they were a team that was still a year off, still just a couple of pieces away. And I think they've done well this year. But now's the time for Kyler Murray to stand up and go, no, I'm that good. This team's got the pieces and I can lead them to the playoffs. So I will be really, really interested to see how he does against what is still a relatively stout Niners defense.
Yeah, just the other injuries on that offense, I think, isn't it? That's really hurting them now and hurt them all season, knocking them out from playoffs as well. But Cardinals 70% chance of making the playoffs. They need to, if they win out, they make it in. They could only win one more game and they might get lucky and win and make playoffs. So you never know. This might be the game. It's a good time for him to do it, if I'm honest. So I think you'll see him very fired up going into this one. Spread at -5. I think I like that for the Cardinals. I think I'll be taking that
as well.
Yeah,
I'm
under
iffy.
over.
I'm iffy on that -5. I think this can be a 3-point game.
Like, I don't 100% trust it because I do think there is that in-division upset. It's always there when you have an in-division game with one team out of it. There's always that little bit of an edge. Like, both teams are fully motivated. It's not like some other games you'll get where they're out of division. One team can't make it. It doesn't mean as much. This means a lot, and especially for the Niners team, probably feeling like they've been robbed of it this season. But one other thing I'm watching for in this game is with the Cardinals is Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake. It is starting to lean more and more towards almost a 50-50 in that backfield. We're seeing Drake, he's not been locked down yet in terms of his deal. Chase Edmonds is sat there as the exciting younger guy. What do you guys think? Are we going to see this, like Kenyon Drake's going to see it off? Or do we think by the start of next season, we're talking about Edmonds starting to edge him out? Is Drake still there? How are you guys feeling on this backfield?
I'll let James have a crack at that first.
Have I stumped you, Sam?
I was hoping you'd have a crack at it because all I'm thinking is please be Drake. Please, I've got him in Dynasty. Please let Drake.
I'm thinking please be Edmonds because I've got him in Dynasty.
It's a 50-50 because I know that the coaching staff there were bought into Drake, right? They brought him in, and we know that they liked Drake even before that. A lot of those guys, they liked Drake before they were in Arizona, but Drake's come in. He's not been outrageously productive. He's not, as you say, he's not been locked up on a contract. And the issue I found, me and you have had a number of conversations the last couple of days about this, Matt, with running backs around the league and stuff like that. Running back is arguably the most easy position to find in the draft. It's not unusual to find a third round guy who can come in and be productive. Mm-hmm. And paying a running back over the last couple of years has shown time and time again that it's not worth it. Like, even in Carolina, where you pay $16 million to McCaffrey, who is, in my opinion, out and out the best running back in the league, $16 million, 2 weeks into the season, he gets injured and $16 million down the drain. So, I would err towards the idea that they just go with Edmonds, or they go with the next guy up, because it's the running back. And if it was me, I'd be investing in offensive line, because that's only going to benefit that Kyler Murray and whoever you've got in the halfback position.
Yeah, support that rushing baseline, isn't it? I think that's what you've got to go for there in Arizona, especially with Kyler Murray. Like you say, they're invested a lot in that, so definitely a good idea. But yeah, I mean, from fantasy, I want Drake all the way. That question just paid me as soon as you said it, because it brings back bad memories of this season. And Drake,
it's definitely going to be an off-season of both of us watching this closely, and come the start of next season, one of us is going to be sat there with a little smile on our face, and the other's going to be like, okay, we moved past it. What's on the waivers? What can I do?
Yeah, especially as I traded from as well. That's the other kicker, but that's another story.
Oh,
I'll get
dear.
Sidetracked there, but
Move along.
Move along. Let's get to the next game. Then the last game on Boxing Day, well, technically the morning after for us, is 1:15 in the morning. Dolphins going to play the Raiders. Now, this is potentially a very, very exciting game, because both teams technically need to win out to make the playoffs. Dolphins can technically drop a game here, and Raiders technically need to win out and then get lucky as well. But both teams will be looking to win every single game going forward to make the playoffs, is what I'm trying to say, essentially, which makes it a very exciting matchup. So who do we reckon it takes it?
Oh.
Stumps you there. Wow, there we go.
Oh.
Quite simply. Who wins?
I want to say the Dolphins got this locked up, because I think the Dolphins are the better team. I have zero faith in this Dolphins offense. I've watched them for a couple of weeks now, and the Dolphins defense, I'm sold. They are they're a top tier, I mean, maybe championship level defense. They're the kind of defense. It's Xavier Howard. When I'm in the AFC Championship game and I need a turnover, I want Xavier Howard in my secondary, because he's coming up with an interception. I do not have faith in this Dolphins offense, and that worries me, because I think the Dolphins win this game. Especially with, I think I saw something earlier, Derek Carr's questionable. We're not sure if he's definitely going to play. So I think the Dolphins win this game. But going forward, questions with their offense. They've struggled to move the ball, and I'm not sure if Tua's quite there yet.
Oh, it's difficult for me, because I feel like there's two aspects to this Dolphins offense, and rushing-wise, they still look good enough, and it's that age-old thing of Tua isn't throwing a stupid amount of picks. He's still a rookie. He's going to have issues here and there, the odd fumble, the odd pick. But they're finding ways, they're running the ball well, and the defense is good, and that historically has been quite a good formula. And it's a QB as well. So for Tua, the main thing I'm impressed with is he gets the ball out quick. It might not always be on the money. Sometimes it's not the right read, but he gets it out quick, and when it does come off, he does look good, and you think there's a future very good NFL game manager there.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried about that side for me. I think they've got a game plan. They're playing to it, and it's got them to 9-5.
Yeah.
The thing for me is this Raiders team. They've come off a game where they've just lost to the Chargers. One of those games where a team's got nothing to play for versus in division who wants to get in the playoffs, and the team just comes up, plays up, takes the win off them. Mariota came in, and he didn't look dreadful. Like he looks like there's now a thing of, okay, the money Derek Carr's on, moving through that deal, do they start to lean on Mariota? Because he's arguably one of the best backups in the league. And I think he
might
was
be the best backup in the league.
Yeah, he's in that conversation, he's always going to be heavily favoured, and almost the guy in that debate where you're trying to find a really good stat to like throw the other person off with that. But you never know what you're going to get from these Raiders. Some games they'll come out and they look incredible, and other games they look dreadful. And it's
8-8.
Exactly, they are 8-8 all over. But the problem is, from their point of view, being 2 games back from the Dolphins here, both chasing the same wildcard spots, 8-8 is probably not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Dolphins are already at 9-5, so they know that they just to get on close to a level par with them, Raiders have to win out here. This is a do or die game for them, and it's just maybe not the best timing to come up against a probably top 3 defense at this point, and one that loves to get the ball off you. When you've got Mariota coming in, most likely, who I imagine he's going to get some time here. Who hasn't always been the best with that.
Like I said earlier, I did see something that was saying Derek Carr he's not a cert for this game.
Yeah.
I know we're saying this on Wednesday. I would imagine that he will start. I mean, if there's any chance that he can start, he will start, because this is a do or die. But if Mariota starts, I don't have the faith in Mariota. And I will admit, I've come around to Derek Carr this year. He's been much better than I thought. James has got me round to it.
Nice. Proved you wrong on this one, I think. But for the Raiders, every game here out is basically a Super Bowl for them. They've got to win.
Yeah.
They've got a 1% playoff chance at this point, which means they can still win out, and then games have to go their way for them to get in. So there is that. On the flip side, Miami, they had a few injury concerns, right? You know, Devontae Parker, Myles Gaskin, Mike Gesicki, all to name a few. So maybe if they're back, it makes it a lot more one-sided for me. But if they're not there, perhaps the Raiders can do a job with Mariota.
Gesicki is huge.
Gesicki's the biggest
the last
one
5 weeks, Gesicki has been literally... You watch him when they're in the red zone, Gesicki is the go-to guy, and he's big, he's physical. He's had that season that everyone's been looking for a couple of years now. He's massive to that team.
I think 100%. Gaskin's the one that, out of those injured players, has got to be a bit nervous, because Ahmed's come out and he's looked good. Like, the games he's got... Gaskin emerged, now someone else is, so I think it's a real just mixture of guys there in that backfield, but they're getting it done. So I think there's moving
Breeder's
forward.
No slouch.
Breeder as well. He's playing well. So you've got a mixture of guys there that what I think you're seeing is another team saying, we've seen what the Niners have done. A quarterback who's going to manage a game. A committee of running backs who one of them is always going to have a hot hand. And a very stout defense. That's the mold they're following. And who knows, maybe they follow it all the way through to a Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not saying they will. I'm not putting money on it happening, but I reckon within the next 2 years, they're gonna have a run at it. They're gonna make some of the locked in seeded playoff teams very nervous. I think you're gonna see some nervous division winners when they come up against this Dolphins team, just because they know that defense is gonna cause them problems.
Yeah.
How is that relevant to a playoff discussion? Playoff
but
teams,
you know what?
It shows you what happens when you shed the chains of Adam Gase.
Okay, alright, I'll give you that.
And also, it does link very nicely, Sam, onto our next matchup. So, thank you for the free segue there.
He did not intend that.
And let's talk about the Cleveland Browns going into New York to play the mighty Jets. Gase in, is what I say at this point. Gase in, keep him there. He's got the win. It's hard to get wins in NFL, and he's managed to do it. Fair play to him. So, Jets, big win last week there against the Rams. But potentially, arguably, the worst win in the Jets' history. Because they now lost
Trevor Lawrence.
They jetsed up the number 1 pick. Like, they found a way to jets it. Like, it was the easiest tank in the history of sports. You could get away with it and say, we didn't tank. Our head coach is just that bad. Yeah. And yet, they got it done. Darnold came out and said, you know what? Not today. You want to replace me? No.
That's the thing now, though, right? So, going forwards, they almost have to tank. They can't win now anymore, because they're just going to move further back in that draft board, and it's just not going to be good. Surely they got a tank from here. We always thought they were tanking a little bit, but...
See, I've said this all season. I've said that they're not tanking all season. I don't believe in tanking in general.
You can't believe they are straight up tanking. No NFL locker room wants to go 0-16. None of those players want to have their name attached to an 0-16 season, because that follows you.
Maybe not for the whole season, but for a lot of the times it has felt that way. But from here on in, surely they've got to. Surely they can't win another game this season.
Do you know what I think? There might be a little bit of this, that now they've got one. And it wasn't just a win against, they beat the Jags. It was, they beat the Rams. They beat a good team that's hunting the playoffs, a very well-coached team. That Darnold's probably there thinking, you know what, I'm still not out of the woods. There's still Justin Fields lurking about. There's still some good quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, he's still lurking about.
Trey Lance is sat there.
Maybe Darnold says, you know what, we're just going to suddenly become the trap game, playoff upsetting Jets that are going to come out, punch you in the face and say, let's play some football. I'm not done yet. I am Sam Darnold and I'm winning some games.
So on that point, are you now taking the Jets in this game?
No, the Browns are going to
Okay, good. Thank God for that, yeah.
The Browns are
I'm glad we said that. Yeah.
The Browns are chasing the Steelers now. The Steelers are slipping. The Browns, they're going to have blood in the water. You've got Baker, who, I mean, I'll let Sam give the full stats, but Baker's back.
Baker's back. I can't remember the exact stats.
Was it 20-0 in recent games, touchdown to picks?
Since OBJ's gone out, before OBJ went out, he had a 60-odd percentage completion. It was 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. It was not looking good. Since then, he's gone 15 touchdowns to 1 interception. He's got a 68%, or rounding up, 68% completion percentage. Boy's done good since OBJ's gone out, and I think that's a combination of going against teams that haven't been able to put the pressure on. I know I've said this all season. Teams that beat the Browns are the teams that put a lot of pressure on Baker. But when he doesn't have pressure on him and he doesn't lock into that guy who's supposed to be his number one and he just plays the quarterback position, plays the play action, got a great stable of running backs, they're a really good team. And they're a really good defense. And they're doing all of this at the right time of the year. Baker is hitting his stride at the right time of the year. And I think a lot of people are caught up on week 8 Baker and all the stats from then and what he was doing half the season ago. Which he's not doing that now. And they've still got to play 2 games, one of them against the Steelers. Now, that Steelers game is huge. If they can beat the Steelers at the end, I honestly think if they can beat the Steelers, they can beat anyone. And that's not because I think the Steelers are good. At this point, I spent all season championing Steelers. That's because I think it's an in-division matchup. If they can beat the Steelers, they can beat anyone. I'm behind this Browns team. If they can win out, go 12-4, they're in a top position. They win their division, and they're one of the teams behind the Chiefs, maybe the next best team in the league.
Oh wow!
I don't know.
Bold claim
I don't know. I do like what they're doing. I think this is finally. We've had a couple years now where it was this Browns team is ready to turn it around, and last year was a bit of disappointment for them all. But this year they're gonna. I think it all looks likely that they're gonna make it. They're gonna be there when it matters. They're gonna be playing the games in January. But I don't know. I'm just not sold because the teams you play in January can get to your quarterback. And I just have, as much as that running game and that defense.
Titans will be there in January.
I'm telling you, they're solid. Yeah, true. But when it comes to it, I think no one in this Browns team is going to say we made the playoffs, we're happy. For them, it's every team, once you get to January, it's a new season, it's a 4-game season, and you want to win all 4 games that season. And I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done. Because I think at some point, maybe they do get the right draw, and at some point they play the Titans, and that game, for them, Baker can go off. At some point, I think we're just going to have that Baker game where everyone goes back to saying, what's going on with Baker? And even in a game, let's say, if he wasn't affected, and he wasn't being, there was no pressure, the Chiefs still take that for me. He can't keep up with Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I think for me, this is, if you're talking about which team's going to get to that AFC Championship game, I don't want it to be the Browns because I think I know what's going to happen in that game. I just can't see them keeping up with it. But in terms of this game, it's the Jets. They should take it easily.
Yeah.
And because they've got bigger things for them. It's play this game, win this game, move on to next week, and then win the division.
I
was going to say, yeah.
I don't like the spread of 9.5 because it's the Browns.
And it's the Jets. The Jets are weird on spreads. The Jets
I don't know what's happened.
Just pop up and be like, we're bad, but we're not. Well, no, we're really bad, but betting-wise, we're annoyed. We're not bad enough to lose these spreads that Vegas is giving us.
It's like being bad is just contagious, and it just affects the other team, and somehow things happen, and the other team just play bad as well sometimes. And it just feels that way.
Contagious year, James.
Cool. Good choice of words, that, isn't it?
That one. That's dreadful.
Good choice of word. I didn't even mean that, but hey ho, we're here now. But yeah,
That's
for the
COVID,
Browns,
baby.
the Browns looking ahead. If the Steelers lose this week and the Browns win, they'll be on even matchup, even record. Sorry, going into that final
big game
matchup, which
next
means
week.
that last game will decide the division. So I think the Browns will know that in their head that this is a must-win game for them. Even though it's the Jets, it's a must-win game, and I think they'll get fired up because of that. So I think
Yeah.
Browns. I'll probably take Browns on the spread on this one. I think Jets are they were done before, but I think they're very done now. They know exactly where they stand on that draft board, and they need to be very careful about what they do from here on in. Is all I'll say on the matter.
Interesting.
Let's keep it rolling, and let's talk about Sam's Giants playing my Ravens.
Hello. I didn't even
And
notice this one.
somehow this is a must-win for both teams. 5-9 Giants is a must-win game. Who'd have thought it? And Ravens 9-5 is also must-win, which is at the start of the season is questionable. You can go in a minute, mate, when I finish speaking, maybe, but here we are. And Ravens 9-5 at the start of the season. You would not put this game down to be a must-win. I'd have thought they'd be well in by this point.
Yeah.
So it's strange that it's a must-win for both teams. But Sam, are you betting for your Giants here? Because it sounds like you might be.
I'm taking my Giants with the spread.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Because
minus
of
10.
out.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that minus 10 is a bit disrespectful to the Giants. The Giants defense is better than a lot of people are giving credit for. I don't think the Giants win this game. We're out a number of pieces. I won't even lie. I'm not sure is Colt McCoy going to start? Is Daniel Jones going to start? Even if Daniel Jones starts, is he the answer? So many questions. But the Giants' defense has shown that they're a pretty good defense, and the Ravens' offense, okay, they had a massive week last week, has been up and down. So I think that minus 10, I'm iffy on that. I like the over in this game. I like the Giants on the spread. I like the Ravens on the lean. The Ravens are going to win it.
Oh, I'll let you go, James. As it's your team, has you got anything to fire back? Anything to come back, or?
I mean, I don't see how Giants can cover that spread. Minus 10. Baltimore defense, very good. A lot of takeaways this season. 8 interceptions, 12 fumble recoveries. It's Colt McCoy. I just don't see how they're going to cover that minus 10. No Saquon as well, of course. Out injured for the season. I don't see how they're going to cover that. I can only see a Ravens win and a comfortable Ravens win here as well. Especially, well, maybe I'm biased, but Ravens have got to win out this season pretty much now, and I think they're going to be fired up. They might finish third in their division. That is not something they want. So a win here at the Giants will start to put that record straight. So yeah, Ravens on the spread and Ravens on money line as well.
There's two factors to this one for me. And it's, firstly, you've got Ravens smelling blood in the water as well, with what's going on with the Steelers and everything that. They're just going to want to win out anyway, as far as I can. But 2 games left? They can end up on an even schedule with the Steelers. I think psychologically, that's a big thing. Going into playoffs, suddenly for the Steelers, they're going to be on such a back foot compared to if the Ravens come in winning. And I mean, Lamar's looking good. Ravens' offenses look like it's back to not feeling that every other team knows what they're going to do before they do it. Feel like they're getting a bit of that mojo back. And then you got the Giants that, okay, if Daniel Jones can make it and play, he practiced today, he practiced Wednesday. Hamstring and ankle injury. The only way this offense started to look better with Daniel Jones was him running. Do you really want him running with those specific injuries? No. And it's a good Ravens defense. Do you want Colt McCoy playing against a good Ravens defense? Not ideally. So I think just on that, the Ravens will take this. And I think it's a combination of a Giants offense that isn't quite going to be itself against a good Ravens defense. It's going to limit that against the Ravens offense, which is back. And as good as the Giants defense is looking, we've seen much better defenses still get burnt for 30 points regularly by this Ravens offense. So for me, they're covering this. As far as I'm concerned, this is a cover. As much as I'm nervous around like 10 double-figured sort of spreads, I do quite like this one.
One thing that helps me out, right? I don't know, the Giants' rush defense is pretty good. Statistically, it's like 4th best in the league. But Lamar Jackson has looked like he's got good connections with his receivers in the last few games. It looks like he's building it up quite a bit. Him and Hollywood have got that connection, that relationship going now on the field, and it's looked great. Des Bryant got a touchdown last week, and I'm not even going to mention Mark Andrews. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, threw up the X's. That was brilliant to see. And of course, Mark Andrews. There's no point in mentioning him because we all know
he's Mark Andrews, isn't he? Like that's
exactly.
Good for a while now.
So if they can't rush, they've got the ability to pass it now as well. I think they can do that comfortably. So that does help me out in covering the spread as well on that one. So Sam,
I will admit, I might be being a little bit biased.
There we go.
I think a lot of what works into this is I know when Matt kind of said that like the high spread, like 9.5. I tend to not like spreads bigger than 7 or 8 anyway. And the Giants' defense, where we're at, I think the Giants are the kind of team that can pull where it says 10 spread. The Giants are the kind of team that can pull an interception out of nowhere and kind of pee on your parade, which is why I don't like taking it. I completely agree. I think the Ravens win this game.
Good.
The only, I think,
agreement.
For this spread not to hit, you're going to have to see like Jabril Peppers he did it earlier in the season, just have one of those games where he is everywhere. He is stopping the run. He's picking people off. He's just all over the field. That's the way. Normally that kind of thing you think win condition. No, that's just covering the spread condition, I think, in this game. And I think I'm going to bet against that happening because it's not an easy team to be that influential against.
I'm an optimist.
Aye?
Oh God! Right, let's shift things on once more, and let's talk about what is quite a tasty fixture actually between the Colts and the Steelers. Steelers continuing to slide. They lost to the Bengals, Ryan Finley's Bengals last week, which is pretty shocking.
What a run!
Ryan Finley.
Could they? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but could they potentially lose division now? Is this game a loss for them? And does that last game mean everything?
I think the rest of this season is a loss for them. Like when we did our pre-season sort of previews on it, me and Sam very opposite ends of the spectrum about this Steelers team. And I think the only thing we've seen is that I was thinking they'd be an 8-8 team. Big Ben has just lasted 3 games longer. I thought at some point this year he was going to either get injured and it would be done, or the arm goes. And then James Conner was not going to be good enough. He had a flash in the pan, and it turns out he's not the guy. Both those things have come evident. It's just a bit later in the season, and unfortunately for this Steelers team, within 3 weeks they've gone from 16-0, let's play the Super Bowl, to, oh God, let's just try win the division. And realistically, what we've seen from Big Ben, he's done. I think I can see like the story aspect of it. This defense kind of carrying them there, getting Big Ben to that one last Super Bowl. He gets the win. He goes out on top. Fair enough. But it's just not going to happen. His arm is not held up. That game against the Bengals, there is no way a team can lose to this Bengals team without Joe Burrow when they have nothing to play for and be considered a contender.
Yeah.
Off the back of these 3 losses and now coming up against the Colts, who everything to play for, they want to be in, they want to be there, and what is a very good defense, this actually could be just ugly. I get the feeling.
This team is a team that basically spent 11 weeks having one of the best defenses in NFL history.
Yeah.
And they've had some injuries on that defense, which has taken them from being an all-time insane defense to being a very good defense. And now the fact that their offense has got these holes on it can't cover it up. I think if we went back to the start of the season, I always had them pegged. I was hard on the Steelers. I think I still had them pegged as a 10-6 team. I think I had them going and being a dark horse Super Bowl team. A team that once you get to the playoffs, if everything's going right, they could get there. But what's actually happened is they had an insane defense, the best defense we've seen in a long time. Couple of injuries, didn't have the depth. Now they're struggling, and the fact that Big Ben's arm is shot, showing that they can't do it offensively. When you match that up against the Colts team, who, ironically, they're going up against a Phil River, who I think...
He's clinging on somehow. He looks good.
He's clinging on. He's got an arm... I still think his arm is shot.
Oh, yeah.
Jacoby Brissett gets time in that offense. When they want Jacoby Brissett in, they will take Rivers out. But They've got an amazing O-line. They've got a good running back core. They've got a great defense. This is kind of the Colts team doing everything the Steelers want to do, but a little bit better and a little bit with a bit more longevity and a bit more depth. So I think the Colts take this comfortably. I think the spread of -1.5 is
Lock
really,
it up.
really
lock that in.
favourable. And also,
Get that now. Like.
so really low over under a 45 against the Steelers. I'm never
Really?
going to put... I don't think the Steelers are ever a team that I'm going to bet scoring under 14 points. It's still Big Ben. They've still got playmakers. And I think the Colts can score 25. So I'm going to take the over as well.
Yeah, I'm tempted by the over.
It's so low, but in a game that means so much. This could be a playoff game, and it means so much, and it's two still good defenses against. And we've seen it before. Rivers is not immune this season to having bad games, albeit the situation with that O-line, with that pass catching pair of running backs he's got there in Hines, it all should be so easy for him. But he still has bad games. If you put him in a spot where he's got to make a throw, he can't. It's the exact same as Big Ben. So for me, I'm thinking this could just be a big defensive game of football.
Yeah.
That means too much, that no team wants to come out and lose it. And especially the Steelers team, no, they cannot give up a lot. This defense knows that they've got to keep this Colts team under 20 points to stand a chance here. So for me, as low as it is at 45, I'm nervous about it. Just because I wouldn't be shocked if this comes out as both teams putting up points in the teens. Just because it's one of those late season defensive games.
Is there potential the Steelers rest players for this game? Because they've already made playoffs. Necessarily haven't won the division yet, but they can't get the first seed.
Maybe.
They can't get the first seed at this point.
They've got nothing else to gain. And maybe, I think for me it depends. With Big Ben, we saw in that Cowboys game he looked shook up. And it's been a decline ever since then. Up until the Cowboys, he looked good. He looks like he could take them all the way. And it's ever since then he's gradually been going down and down and down. Maybe it's been exposed by teams figuring out they can't run the ball. Maybe it's been exposed by a couple more injuries on defense. But at the end of the day, it's him that's getting worse. And that is the biggest issue this team has right now. If he has got an injury lurking there, they can't get the number 1 seed. They can't get that bye. So why stress it? Why play him? Because I think there is an injury he's dealing with, and I think we'll see it in the offseason that Big Ben, after he's hung it up, comes out and he's having a couple surgeries done. So I wonder if, you know what, you just say, right, we'll rest him, and we'll hope that when we get to the playoffs, he's got enough in the tank to put it all on the line for 4 games. Because we've said it before about old quarterbacks, get them to the playoffs, get them to that 4-game season, doesn't matter who they are, like between Rodgers, Brady, Big Ben, it's hard to bet against them when it comes to that environment. So
I
bench
agree
him
with
for
Matt in that sense, but I also think there's walking into the playoffs when you were 11-0 at 11-5. I get rest your guy. If you take your starters out and you basically lie down and die for the regular season, and you say we're done, and you go at 11-5. That can't be good for team morale, and
Neither's losing with the starters though. Neither is seeing your quarterback, the guy in that locker room, worse and worse, and suddenly they walk out in there in the playoffs. They don't have that optimism of, right, 2 weeks out, Big Ben's back in, let's go. It's, oh God, Big Ben still stood there, and it's not the same. It's not Big Ben, it's just Ben at this point, and Ben can't throw the ball very well.
Personally, I don't see them resting anyone. But
it's unlikely, I agree.
But let's not forget, though, their bye was very early. Very early this season.
True.
So maybe it's not a bad thing to rest Big Ben for maybe 2 weeks and give him that shot in the playoffs. It might do the world of good.
His arm is gone. That's 2 weeks on the trot now. He's thrown some interceptions where it's not that he's made the wrong read. Like I was.
I know his head's still in it. Like...
Yeah, his head's still there. Like I watched the interception last week, and there was an interception the week before. He didn't make the wrong read. He was throwing it to the right person. He was just 10 yards short on the throw. Like his arm was not there. He was going to the right place. Accuracy wise as well, it's in the right place. He was 10 yards short, and that worries me. If you don't have a guy who can make that throw, because they've got maybe the worst backup situation in the league. They don't have a backup whatsoever. I mean,
I think that's him underthrowing as well. He's coming off elbow surgery. You've seen him a few times. That him looking gingerly on the sideline with that elbow, like he does not. There's been a few moments late on in this year where there's something bothering him, and I'm convinced it's the elbow. I think they've got to. Surely for me, they've got to arrest him. Like,
yeah, we'll see what happens on Sunday. But I think it's a wise idea to rest him at this point, give him the 2 weeks off. But yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens. And let's shift things on to it's a nothing game if I'm honest. There's not an awful lot to say.
Oh, I'm excited for this one now.
Both teams are out. 6 p.m. game between the Bengals and the Texans. No team can make playoffs here. Is there anything we're looking for in particular from this game? Anything to watch for, or is it just going to be one of those ones we just bin off?
I think it's a little bit. The only thing in this game is the Texans still playing for pride. They haven't got the picks, so for them come out and win. There's no in anyone's back of anyone's heads. There's no one here thinking loss would do us good here. If we just happen to lose. For them, everyone in this Texans organization, it is win because I want to be here when this new regime comes in. Whereas for the Bengals, okay, they got that win over the Steelers. I mean, it's great fun for all of them, and for Ryan Finley, it's a great moment for him. But on the grand scheme of things, now they're just picking later. And this is a team that, with what they've got there, they want to be picking as early as possible still, because they've got the guy at quarterback as long as when he comes back, it is, he's what he looked to be. Do they really want any more wins? Do they want to start this? Because this is a winnable game for them. And I mean, no team goes out to lose, but I just feel like the Texans, maybe there's just a bit more. Like, there's not in the back of any of the coaching staff's heads or anything like that, that kind of, there's a certain player I like, and if we win a couple times, he might be out of reach.
Yeah.
This Texans team, it's pride. It's pure pride. Let's just go out there and win, because who cares where we're picking? I want to be here going forward. I want to be with Deshaun Watson and turn this thing around.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point to raise, but yeah, I mean, this game does not excite me at all. I think I'm taking the Texans for the reasons you said there, Matt. Can't disagree with anything the points you raised, but yeah, I'm not excited to watch this game at all. Sorry, Bengals and Texans fans, but it's a tough one. It's a tough season for both of you anyway. So let's move on, and let's talk about the Falcons going in to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are certainly the team to beat this season, only losing one game so far. Now the Falcons are completely out of it for playoffs this year. But do they have what it takes maybe to cause an upset here?
Nope. This is a Chiefs team that no matter what situation you put them or Pat Mahomes in, Pat Mahomes is not going to let this team lose regular season games. And coming off that, them losing to the Raiders when they did is the best thing to happen to this team outside of them getting Patrick Mahomes. I think recently, because it has fired them up, and it's almost that thing of, okay, we can't just assume we're the Chiefs, we're great, we're going to win. Like, we've got to come out and play to it. And you can see it, it's just Pat Mahomes, no matter what spot you put him in, he gets the points on the board and does what he needs to. 4 turnovers in that game against the Dolphins. He doesn't care. He's like, right, I'm straight back. I'm Pat Mahomes. I'm putting points up. We're winning the game. Like, there's no sense with this team of, we're going to have the seed with what the Steelers have now done. Barring a miracle recovery in Big Ben, we know we're going to get that bye. It's we want to win through, keep the momentum, get into playoffs, and then I think they've still got another gear to step up into. Like, I think at this point, realistically, I don't see a team that can beat them.
No, I think I said this to Matt the other day. I mean, I've been big into the NFL since 2015, and I've watched back and I've seen everything. I don't think I've seen. Through watching back, I know I've not been involved in anything. I haven't seen a team this dominant since the 07 Patriots. And I think this Chiefs team is more dominant than that 07 Patriots, because I think they're more dynamic. I think they've got more to offer. Just because I think Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day is more dynamic than Tom Brady ever was. I think he's
Mahomes
as good.
Level.
He's as good at passing and playing from the pocket, but he's also got that slight edge on the legs. Falcons have not. The Falcons might put up a fight. It's not unheard of to see a team, because I think the Falcons' offense is still really good. They've still got great
love that
pieces,
offense.
and the Falcons could still do it. But I think this is the week that the Chiefs just bury it. They get themselves that bye. There's a very good chance that we see them rest all of their starters next week because they've already got their bye because they win this game. But I can't see any way that I'm not taking the Chiefs with the spread here, just because Falcons' defense hasn't been great this year. Chiefs' offense has been brilliant.
This Falcons defense has been a lot better since Dan Quinn left. Like, it's very easy to just picture that start of the season Falcons defense as being dreadful. They have got it in their locker to play against Mahomes. It's almost irrelevant.
I'm never betting against the Chiefs. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not saying not to not bet against them. I'm just saying I don't think this is as much of a walk. I think the Falcons will put up a good number of points because that offense is good. The defense is not a complete walkover. They will do enough to, at some point, like, it's not going to be like every time Mahomes gets the ball, they just walk down the field and score kind of thing. So I think for me at 10.5, I think it comes in, but I am a little bit nervous about it just because we've seen it before. You get Matt Ryan out there having a Matty Ice game, especially with how Ridley's developing. I'm nervous about that. And this Chiefs team as well, Edwards-Helaire is done for the regular season. They're trying to make sure he's back and ready to go in the playoffs. Albeit, Lev Bell got his touchdown, looked serviceable. This is his first full game starting since he's back. And while the Chiefs are still one of the best offenses in football, Mahomes is incredible, that does put a little bit of a limit on them if Lev Bell can't do it for a whole game to maybe keep that 10-point difference, or 10.5-point spread covered. So that I'm just a little bit nervous on that front. The Chiefs win, undoubtedly. It's just this spread I'm a little bit cautious on. But excited to see what Lev Bell does. That's the main thing I'm watching for here, is what has Lev Bell got left in the tank when he comes in as a full game starter. This is his audition moving forward, like Leonard Fournette's having at the moment with the Bucks.
Yeah.
These are guys playing for contracts.
So another game at 6 p.m. on Sunday sees the Bears going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. Now the Jags are somehow now primed for the number 1 pick. So do they even try to win this game, or are they just gonna tank it and don't do what the Jets did?
It's the same situation. Like, I mean, I don't think this is a game they can win, but Minshew doesn't want Trevor Lawrence in that building. It's the same as Darnold. Like, it's very difficult to tank if you've got a quarterback most likely about to be replaced who, to be fair, Minshew is the kind of guy that, especially with the receivers he's got around him, can put it on his back and get it done for this team. He's shown he can do it. James Robinson looks like he's not going to be playing. That's the biggest flaw for this team. In a game where you're against a good defense that can figure you out, they're going to be very one-dimensional, and it's going to be like, all right, Gardner, you got to do something here. I don't think he can. Whereas this Bears team, they've come alive. The last 3 games, this offense is putting up points. They get, like, David Montgomery is resurgent. Trubisky is doing what he needs to do. This is very clearly a head coach, a quarterback, and a running back that know they've got to prove it, and they've got to prove it now if they want to stay around this team and stay around the league at the level they're currently at. And they're putting it together. I think I saw stats getting up around or beating 30 points a game the last 3 games, this offense. If you can do that with this defense, even when this defense has an average day, that's enough to get wins. And right now, they need other teams to slip up. But it happens in this league quite often. So for them, it's just win out, see what happens. And this is a game that they're looking, I think, just to roll straight through. And that minus 7.5, I'll happily take with what I've seen from this Bears offense in the last 3 weeks. And I don't see that stopping here.
This Bears coaching staff is tied to Mitch Trubisky. If Mitch Trubisky doesn't pan out, given everything they gave up and the quarterbacks they passed over him, they have to succeed, and they have to win, and they have to make the playoffs. So going up against Jags team that has just been bad all year, I'm taking the Bears every day. I'm taking them on the spread. I'm taking the over because I think that, as Matt said, that this Bears team scoring points. But I also think the Jags can score some points. So I'm taking the over. I'm taking the Bears on the spread. I like all those bets. I don't think there's much to be said just because I think the Bears have to win this game.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Sam. And even if they win this game, next week's even tougher for them against the Packers. So they're going to be fired up rest of the season. And David Montgomery's been looking good the last few weeks as well. And I think
making my big trade worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he can continue it this week against the Jags, who are just not good at all. And number 1 pick at the moment, so there's that element to it as well. But let's move things on to the Broncos going in to play the Chargers. Now, this is an in-division game, but for me, it happens too late because neither team can make the playoffs at this point. So is this just another one of those pride games? Is there anything we're looking for in this game? Or
The main thing this game's got going is Justin Herbert trying to lock up that offensive rookie of the year, and I think that's enough for them to get the win here. Drew Lock has looked shaky. I think Herbert's looked like the better quarterback this year, and I think Herbert comes out. They're coming off a big win against the Raiders. Why not go out there and get another win? This is a team that, without, was it the Derwin James injury, for one, which is huge for this team, that could have been a lot higher. You put Herbert in at the level he's playing at from the start, they're in a very different spot that although they might still be on just short of a wild card spot, they'd still be one of those in the hunt teams. And I think this is a team next year we're going to be thinking, they were 5-9 a year ago, sort of thing, when we get to week 16 next year. And the Broncos, nothing really to play for. And I think Locke is almost, I'm starting to think, the more you say you have to show you're the guy now, the worse he plays. Because it's that Jameis Winston effect. The second he tries to force it, it goes wrong and he throws picks. He's going to have games where he looks good, but the majority, he's going to lose him games. And Justin Herbert seems to be on the opposite. He can throw a few picks here and there, but he lights it up enough and he gets the job done, like in terms of his stats at least. He's doing his part, and I think they take this game. And -3, I'll happily take that. As well as the over at 48.5, I'll happily take that.
Completely agree, really. Not much to be said. Yeah. I think this is the time Drew Lock's got to show up, stand up and show where he's at, because I think there's going to be a chance that the Broncos, I mean, if the Broncos end at 5-11 and they're sat there around the 10th, 11th spot in the draft, and Trey Lance is sat there, or Zach Wilson's sat there, someone slips a little bit, they're not going to be certain at quarterback. So now's the time for Drew Lock to step up and show if he has something, because they're not committed to him. He was a second round pick. They don't have a 5th year option. He's not costing them stupid money. So if they're going to win this game, now's the time for him to stand up and win a game, because otherwise I think his job's going to be on the line.
I think maybe that's the one thing they haven't tried with him. Give him straight up competition. Him, another young guy. Both of those guys can play a similar style and are exciting quarterbacks to have in your offense if it does go the Trey Lance, Zach Wilson sort of way. Say to him, all right, we've tried every other route with you.
I'd love to see Trey Lance.
Now you've got to go out there and beat someone else out.
I'd love to see Trey Lance there. Big-bodied, kind of. He can run. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's strong. He's mentally tough. I think
ton
he'd be a
of
good
weapons.
Fit. Yeah. I think Trey Lance would be a good fit there. And like you say, worst case scenario is great competition.
yeah, that's always been proven in sports to fire up a guy in it. So I don't think you can argue with what you guys are saying there at all. Let's show things on once more, and let's talk about the Panthers going into play Washington, to play the Washington football team. But before we kick things off, the Panthers have just sacked their GM. What do we make of that news?
I remember when I saw this, I just was like, why? Why? What's the reason behind this? Because, I mean, everything he's done relatively recently for me is like there is no way they could expect this team to be more competitive or more than it has been this year with a first-time head coach, a completely shredded defense that they've had to try build through the draft that I think they've done quite well. Well, they've put together there. That's what I'm missing your star player in McCaffrey, who's out this week. Again, we're not going to see him the rest of this year. Why would they risk it? But I think what he started to put together down there, I think this is hard. I don't quite get why they've done this. This has got to be more of a backroom politics, some kind of disagreement or something. They can't all line up on what way they think this franchise should go from here. I think this is not about what he's done in the past, because I don't think he's anything that wrong. Even letting Cam go, albeit, yeah, you had to pay Bridgewater. Bridgewater's been better than Cam this season. Cam has not looked good up there in New England, so I really don't get that decision at all for me. Like this Carolina Panthers team has been better than I thought they'd be. They still need a few more years to mature and get everything clicking, but they're better than I thought they'd be at this point. They've shown some bright spots.
Yeah.
Their defense has shown exactly what you wanted it to see going into what was an outrageously young defense. I mean, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every pick they had of last year's draft was defensive. And they've got a couple of players who are going to turn into great players. Like, Gross Matos is going to be, I think I've butchered his name,
A little bit.
but he might turn into being one of the steals of the second round of last year's draft. And they've got a number of players who are going to turn into very good players, and they've shown a lot this year. They could quite easily be, they're 4-10 now. They could quite easily be at, what should we say, 6-8, 7.
Yeah, they've been in some close games.
They've been in some close games. There are a couple of scores either way. Sacking their GM, that's probably just the owner going, look, I don't like where he's going with this. The big thing for me is they haven't sacked the coach. And that's huge for me. Like, usually when I see an organisation go into turmoil, they sack the GM, they sack the coach, they just clear house. They've not sacked the coach. They've gone, right, the GM's not going the right way. We can quietly get rid of him, bring in the next guy. Like, we like what he's done, but he's not quite doing the right things. We like the coach. We like the team we've got. We just want to bring in someone else who's got maybe a slightly different aspect. So I'm not too worried about that. Panthers are done for the year, but I think they're going to be quite good going forward. I think in this time in 2 or 3 years, this is a team that's going to be a 9-win team, a 10-win team, and will be in the playoff discussion. Their opponents, the Washington team, they've got a lot to play for. They can still win this division.
A lot.
And they've got a great defense. So I really want to see the Washington football team come out here. And this is coming from a Giants team, Giants fan. Just go out and smash the Panthers. Go out there.
Wow.
Smash the Panthers. And because I think this Washington football team is the best chance that the NFC East has got of winning a playoff game. Because I think that defense has got the ability to just smash someone. So I'd like to see the Washington football team go out and have a great game defensively, smash them, win a couple games, get to the playoffs, and win a playoff game. Be nice to see.
Yeah, especially, this story of Alex Smith as well. I know he's potentially injured coming to this game, but, that storyline is brilliant to watch.
Dwayne Haskins might not be starting for a while after his antics.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is true, yeah.
They haven't got a choice at the moment. They fined him $40,000, which is one of the biggest COVID fines for a player to date. That's just come out. But, I mean, with Smith, I think, reading the report now, he threw on the sideline, so wasn't active, but was sort of out there on the field throwing. With this calf injury, they're not going to rush him with anything with his legs. If they feel they can get the win here and just push Smith back a week and have him starting in the playoffs, because it's a very different team with Smith as it is to Haskins. I think Haskins plays like the spot they're in. They can't. It just doesn't make sense for them to bench him here because there's nowhere else to bring in. You don't want to rush Smith because if it goes wrong, you are done. Then suddenly you've got to play Haskins in the playoffs. I think. Yeah, he's not the guy on or maybe off the field, what he's just done recently. Like, you'd think with everything going on, you get another shot suddenly with everything that happens to Carl Allenson, you're back in. It's like, okay, maybe you turn this around. You get him to the playoffs. You have a good showing there if Alex Smith can't go. Maybe you buy yourself some time to be in a similar spot, you against Alex Smith next year or whatever happens. But what he's just gone out and done is essentially said he just can't be trusted with the spot he's in. And especially this year with everything going on, where teams, especially coming into playoffs, and like the last thing any of these teams want is a COVID outbreak in this last few weeks, or the start of playoffs. And it's just stupid. So I think he's not the guy on or off the field, but they're going to have to play him. And maybe it works in his favour. He knows the only way he can dig himself out of this is if on the field he is lights out, but it's not in his locker to be lights out at the NFL level at this point. So I think
I agree.
I just don't see it happening, and it's a tough game. It's a weird game to call. Washington has everything more to play for. The defense is a completely different story on defense. But if the right version of the Panthers show up, and you've got Haskins as the quarterback for this Washington team, maybe there's enough there that they they steal this. I think I'm not betting on this game at all. If I had to call it, I'd say Washington take it, just because they have enough to get it done on the ground with the defense. But it's a weird game to call, and it's just another one where it's as much as you say they're currently a playoff team, they're a playoff team from the NFC East, and it doesn't mean a lot.
Yeah, I'm staying well away from this game, but it's funny you mention the NFC East, because looking at it now, every single one of those teams right now can make the playoffs. The only division in the entire NFL. I mean, granted, the Eagles have like a 6% chance, but they can still make the playoffs if things go that way.
I'd want to see
it's
them
crazy
in it with Hurts. I feel like they're the most. Just Jalen Hurts looks electric, and I think you put him in there against what's going to be a team that's just got in, potentially the Bucks, something around that level. Suddenly, that's a very interesting thing, but who knows? We'll see. It's all in Washington's hands. It's all for them to play for.
But it's interesting you mention the Eagles because let's speak about the next game. Let's speak about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts going in to play the Cowboys. Now, Matt, you've mentioned Jalen Hurts a little bit there, but on the flip side, the Cowboys are only one game back from the division title. Do you reckon they can push on here and maybe clinch it? Because there is a chance, like I said.
I think they're looking at this and everything we've just said and that quarterback situation, and the Cowboys are liking this. They're starting to find themselves at the right time. I think Dalton's finally settled in. I mean, Zeke, he's going to be worrying for his job at this point because Pollard looks very good. He looks like an NFL running back. I mean, it's a similar thing. It's not quite to the same level, but that Carson Wentz against Jalen Hurts debate, the Cowboys are going to start to get that in their backfield, and especially when you've got to try and potentially pay Dak, the cap's getting smaller. They're in a weird spot here, and Pollard's doing a job, and I think the fact that even when Zeke's played the last couple of weeks, he's looked a bit more like Zeke. If you start to give a 50-50 split of these guys, it's something new. There's not going to be a lot of tape to work off in terms of how they could tailor this offense against an Eagles team that still has flaws as much as Hurts is just looking electric. I think we're seeing Hurts playing above his ceiling currently. I don't think this is necessary for where he is now. There's going to be a game where you see him as a rookie, unless he is another Mahomes, Lamar Jackson-esque guy who is going to turn out to be great in the league, which, who knows, stranger things have happened.
Doesn't always happen.
That's the thing. There's going to be a game where he does not quite look it. He's looked red hot these last two games. And I mean, it's a weird one because it's everything to play for both these teams. If Washington slips up, whoever wins this is in a real nice spot to potentially steal it in the last week. I'm going to lean on the Cowboys just because they're in a slightly better spot. And I mean, as much as Hurts is doing, I just think the Cowboys on pure talent have got more there. They're harder to shut down than I think this will be for this Eagles team. But at the same time, I won't be shocked if the Eagles come out and win it as well because there's still talent in that defense and Hurts looks great. I'm leaning Cowboys here. I'm not betting, but my gut for a prediction says Cowboys.
I'm not betting on anything here. This game is because anything in the NFC East at this point is like, well done, you made playoffs. You're not making the Super Bowl. It's like that division's terrible, right? Like the fact that we're talking about the Washington football team is, they're a good team in the NFC East. They're still in a lot of divisions. They'd be the third best team. They're not a legitimate contender. So the thing that intrigues me about this game is kind of like you said, Matt, with the Pollard and Zeke. Like Zeke isn't getting looked over. He's getting paid too much money at the moment, and they've committed too much for them to move on. Like he will be the lead back next year. They have to. The thing that intrigues me about this game is if Jalen Hurts keeps going well, there's a lot of questions to be asked about what do we do with Wentz? What do we roll with Hurts on a rookie deal? Do we trade Hurts while his trade value is high and roll with Wentz? So there's so many questions, but I think this is a very nothing game for me at this point. But roll it forward 2 months, this is the kind of game we'd look back at and go, that's the game that Hurts got himself traded, or that's the game that Hurts secured his position as the quarterback for the Eagles. So I think if anyone out of this game, Hurts has got the most to play for, because I don't think the Eagles are committed to Wentz. And if Hurts can play himself into that spot, I think the Eagles could move on from him no matter the cap hit.
Big old hit, though. 24 mil in a year where you got less cap. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to be there and he's going to say no.
Yeah.
Can't force him.
A lot of news in the off-season will come out of these two teams of this game. I think it's going to be a very interesting one to watch.
It's interesting. The Eagles hold a lot of power in this division because they play the Cowboys this week and then they play the Washington Football next week as well. So I wouldn't be writing the Eagles off at this point because there's a lot of chances for them to sort of to make amends here. But let's kick it on and let's talk about potentially the game of the week. And it sees the Rams go in to play the Seahawks in what is a massive in-division game, which potentially could decide who wins that division. Who do we fancy out of the Rams and the Seahawks here?
Oh God, it's a weird one to call because like the Rams, the Rams are not gonna be happy coming off this loss to the Jets. That's an understatement. Like they've jetsed up winning this division potentially, unless they can claw one back here. The Seahawks have looked like two different teams at points. We've seen Russ start outrageously hot and then falter back and then kind of come back into it a bit. I mean, DK Metcalf has been the one constant that just looks incredible on that team. He has really emerged this year. But like, there's so much to play for in this. This is like it's another one of those like Chiefs Saints. It's a playoff game before the playoffs, with the same stakes almost at this point because this is for arguably the division title. If the Seahawks can lock this up, Rams are really in a tough spot at that point. And you start to get teams like the Cardinals really stiffing around them, especially if the Cardinals can pull out a win. I think I'm going to lean on the Seahawks just because they're kind of a bit more momentum. I think at their best, the Seahawks are better. For me currently, even though that defense can be really leaky, Russ and this offense at its best is very good. And I feel like we're going to start to see it more and more seep through this Rams team. It's the Jared Goff effect where they're just not always playing at their best. More often than not, they don't. Similar to maybe the Bucks. On their day, they could beat any team in the league. But also, their day doesn't come very often at the moment.
Yeah,
That's how I'm feeling about this team.
This Rams team, they basically have two stars that their weeks revolve around. Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. If Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey both play at the same time to what they can do, then they've got maybe two of the best defensive players in the league, and they can shut anyone down. Because Jalen Ramsey, I know he gets a lot of stick, and I know he chats a lot, but he's that good. And Aaron Donald is that good. Jared Goff, he's not that good. Like, a lot of their offensive players are not that good. Like, they've got two guys who could walk into any team and be the best on that team at what they do. And if they're not playing up to it, then the Rams don't play to what they can. The Seahawks, on the other hand, they've got a leaky defense. They've got an okay running game. They've got Russell Wilson, who, yes, he has his leaky stage, and he was letting stuff go, and he's had a couple of weeks where he's still got like a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Like, he is still playing at a Pro Bowl quarterback level. I know he might not have got to the Pro Bowl, but like his numbers on the season are still outrageous. This is still Russell Wilson. Yes, he might have had 3 or 4 bad games. They've got DK Metcalf, who is great. And ultimately, I think they're in a better spot to contend this year than the Rams. And I think the Seahawks know that. So I'm taking the Seahawks. Yeah. I'm taking them -1.5. I'm also taking the over on this one because I think 47.5 seems very low with a leaky Seahawks defense.
Yeah.
And a good Seahawks offense. Seems like a recipe for points.
Yeah, one thing I would say on the Seahawks defense is that they've picked it up a little bit in recent weeks. You know, the start of the season, I hammered them every week for being terrible, but they started to pick it up a little bit, and they're probably not the worst defense in the league right now, which helps me to bet on the Seahawks this week on the spread at -1.5, like you said there, Sam. I think that's the way I'm taking it, but yeah, completely agree with the under/over 47.5. I think you got to take that over. Still not a great defense, not the worst, but it's not great.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that certainly helps me here. But the penultimate game that we should talk about, moving things on once more, is the Titans going in to play the Packers. Now, can the Titans seal their division against this Packers team who have already done the same in their respective division? Because there is potential for Tennessee to lock it up here.
Yes. Titans win this game.
Wow. I was not expecting that. Here we go.
Blockbuster.
I think the Packers are the best team in the NFC. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl at this point. their offense, brilliant. But I think the Titans have got an upset game left in them this year. I do think the Titans are contenders. I don't think they can get past the Chiefs, but I do think that run game is an issue. And I think that defense is good enough.
On its day, yeah.
On its day, and I just... Something about Derrick Henry, like everything about me, I think the Packers are the better team. I think they're better schemed. But Derrick Henry can run the ball, and I feel like this is the game that the Titans just control the game. This could be a 40-minute time possession for the Titans, because they just say, right, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and they knock the Packers off a little bit. I think the Titans win this. I think the Packers win the week after, and they go 12-4. And I think the Packers make it to the Super Bowl and the Titans don't. But I'm locking this up. Titans win this game.
Yeah, for me, this is more what I'm looking at as game of the week. Because I am higher on the Titans than Sam, and I think they've just got that upset factor in them whatever week you put them out. I think they're, on offense at least, a more dynamic and better team than last year. Derrick Henry runs the ball, despite the issues on the O-line. They've had a couple of injuries. He runs the ball just as well, except Tannehill, at points where he needs to. I mean, he's shown he's got some legs on him this week, rushing in 2 touchdowns, but also he can air it out when he needs to. AJ Brown has taken a step. And
yes.
I think this Titans team is feeling good when it needs to. And I really think they've got the upset. It's just got it written in it. It's Sunday Night Football. It's the late night game. It's going to have a playoff-esque feel to it, albeit different sides of the conference, different sides of the playoffs. It's another one that's going to have a playoff feel, just in two big teams, and this is purely about momentum and pride heading into the playoffs. This is an early statement to get in the heads of those teams that you're playing in your first playoff game. And I mean, we saw it when the Titans had to against the Colts. They came out and they battered the Colts, albeit we've seen other games where you thought, oh, what's happened to the Titans there? They're not always great at getting to the quarterback, but as Sam said, when you learn that and think, okay, we can't stop their quarterback that way, how do we do it? Oh yeah, we just give it to Derrick Henry for 40 minutes of the game. They've got the recipe for it, and teams still have not figured out how to stop it. That was our biggest thing in the preseason. That was, I think, the main debate me and Sam had was, yeah, but they can't just keep giving it to Derrick Henry. And at this
Turns
point,
out they can.
yes, you can. They
Yeah,
can.
you can.
Like, because
Vrabel,
aggressive coach.
I don't want to say it because what he's doing is so obvious, but he's an aggressive coach who's like, there you go. Go and score us loads of points, please, Derek. And he does it, and it works. And I can't see past them at this point. I don't think they go all the way, but I think this is one of those games that everyone in a week goes, can't believe the Titans beat the Packers.
This will
And
be
you know what
oh, go on. You go.
I was going to say the spread on this game is very tempting as well at that point, at minus 3.5 in favour of the Packers. So I think you're right. It's hard to look past that and not back the Titans on that spread, albeit it's a small spread. But God, the Titans are so tempting on this one, right?
Do you want to know what I'm looking for here? I like this spread as it is, but I think this is going to be a staple Titans game. If the Packers get up on them, maybe by a score, maybe by 10 points, around that, suddenly you look at the spread online and you can get the +7 on the Titans or something of that region, like this spread moves. You get that in play, and then the Titans do what they do every week and come out in the second half and say, oh yeah, we're going to play football now. By the way, we just won. On to next week. That sort of football.
That being
That's
said,
what I'm saying.
Aaron Rodgers might be the MVP this year.
Yeah.
And I
Should
would,
be.
I would.
Yeah.
I think for the storyline of all the storylines in the NFL this year, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers go out and win the MVP, win the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl MVP, and then turn around to the Green Bay Packers staff and go, yeah, drafted Jordan Love. Have a day off, guys.
That's one thing we said instantly. Like, this was either going to just be the end of Rodgers at the Packers because he'd say, all right, I've done everything I've done for you, sod ya. Or it was going to be, all right, I'll show you who I am. And he's shown everyone who he is. The only thing that worries me is that Panthers game, they got up early and they stalled out and he looked frustrated. And it shows you that, albeit that he is Aaron Rodgers, he is maybe MVP in waiting, all this, he's still one man in that offense. And if the rest of it doesn't show up for him, as we've seen year on year, he can be let down at the biggest moments. And that's what worries me.
Not there. If
Exactly.
as Aaron,
Big part of it.
As A-Rod calls him, if Tay's not there, he might struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a big part of that team, isn't he? He's a big part of that duo. Is also Devontae Adams, I think we have to say. So if he's out, yeah, you could be right there. But what an exciting game this one's going to be.
A treat of a game.
From the football point of view, best game of the week, I think, 100%. Although the Rams Seahawks, I do like that one as well. Well, that one's that
I like it.
in division matchup is what I like about
If
that
only
one.
you were here to watch it with us, James.
I know. COVID, baby. That's
That's
COVID.
That's
COVID,
COVID,
baby.
baby.
Right, last game of the week, boys. Another in-division game between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. This is the first time in a while the Patriots haven't made the playoffs. I think it's maybe the first time since 2008 they haven't won the division. And that division is gone to the Buffalo Bills. Do we see the Buffalo Bills taking this game still?
Give me this game a month ago, and I'll happily debate it and raise a point for why the Bills look shaky and they could lose it, and the Patriots are playing up and still fighting to scrape into the playoffs and do all that Belichick kind of football. Well, it's done. They're not making it. They don't look good at the moment. Cam Newton come out on Instagram and say everything he wants to about, I want to be the solution, I want to rebuild, I want to fix this team. You're at the wrong end of your career, potentially, for them to be looking at doing that, unless you're willing to sign the same veteran minimum deal again.
Someone
Which,
at Cam
who
Newton in
knows?
this little thing.
I'm just saying, whereas the Bills are at the right end of everything, Josh Allen is back to what we've seen at the start of the year. The defense is back. This whole team looks like they're ready to come out there and say, you know what? It's like that thing, and you see it in a superhero film when you need someone to step up and fight what is the Chiefs. And it's the Bills saying, you know what? We're going to show up and we're going to give it our best. We're going to show up for the rest of the league and try and cause a shake-up here and ruin this just straight-up story of the Chiefs just win through. Not saying they can, but that's where the Bills' heads are going to be at. They need to show up, and they're the team that stops the Chiefs. So I think they just keep it rolling.
You've made me so happy there, Matt. You've echoed everything I was about to say. I think if anyone in the AFC is beating the Chiefs, I think it's the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Purely because I don't think Josh Allen is. I don't think he's that good a quarterback in terms of. I can't see in 10 years' time all of us going, Josh Allen, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's a guy that's going to have 4 or 5 years in the sun with his legs and with his arm, and he will have 4 or 5 years, and he'll be very good. But I can't see him being a Hall of Famer. But
I can't wait to clip that in 10 years.
Yeah.
When he's 4
Save
Super
that
Bowls
one.
down the line.
Save that one.
But I think he's at the right time with the right team, the right receivers, and quietly a defense with the right talent. You've got players like Tre'Davious White on there who are getting paid and who in the big moments can step up. And I think they're a team that, if they can turn it on at the right time, there's a lot of ifs, but I think that's going to be surrounding a lot of teams playing the Chiefs in general.
Yeah.
But if they can turn it on at the right time, this is a team that can pick off Mahomes a couple times, and they do have the offensive power to completely swap this around. And I'm going to go out and say it right now because I sincerely believe this, and it's very
Sincerely.
I really think.
Sincerely.
I think
he's downgraded it there.
He won't win it.
Twice.
But I think Stephon Diggs should win Offensive Player of the Year purely because I think he is maybe the most, or for the switch that he's made has shown how important a wide receiver can be to an offense. And he's also shown how important to a team he is. Not only the Vikings, because before Jefferson stepped into his role, they were lost.
Yeah.
He's
Very
then
true.
come into the Bills and completely revolutionised. Their offense has not changed that much from last year, apart from Diggs. Diggs has come in and been a revelation. He's made Allen look better. He's made the receivers around him look better, and they've scored a lot more points. He's the kind of player that, for Offensive Player of the Year, will get looked over because he's not a quarterback or he's not a running back who makes loads of yards. But in terms of how important to their offense he is, he's crucial. He's next level, and that can't be overstated.
100% agree. He's
agree,
yeah, I agree. I would have to agree.
I agree on every part of that except him winning Offensive Player of the Year, just because I don't think it'll go to that position. I think it's rare.
Yeah.
And what he's done, as much as, yes, he is so important to that team, I think if there was an award for best off-season acquisition, yes, I'd give it there.
That's a good award.
That could
that.
be a
Nice little
Brit
one for the
Iron-
GMs, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's maybe a preview of an episode to come.
Oh,
Who
I think it
knows?
is.
It
I think
might
it
be.
is.
But I think on the face of it, I don't think he wins the award, but I can see the logic. He has been game-changing for that offense. He has added a whole nother dimension.
Yeah, I don't think he wins it, but I think he's most worthy of it.
Yeah, he
I can
definitely
see
deserves it.
he should be in the conversation. Like, that name has to come up, surely, when you're deciding it, I think.
Yeah,
One, you
100%.
wouldn't be shocked.
Hard to argue against it for sure. But like you say, Josh Allen as well. Last few games, he's been doing quite well.
He's back.
Just looking at here, last 3 games, 8-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which is incredible. He's putting up big numbers. But I think against New England, the rush is where the Bills are going to really prosper. The Patriots have allowed 133 rushing yards per game, which is quite a lot, and they've just given up 250 to Miami.
Oh,
So
God.
expect a big game from Zach Moss and Devin Singletary here. You could really see it happening.
Oh,
And Josh Allen as well. Actually, that boy can run, and
he's got a
certainly
set of legs on him. Yeah.
he's gonna feast, I think, in this game as well. So Bills on the spread for me, and on the money line.
Like the
spread being
over
at
in this
-7.
one as well, 46.
Love the over. Because this is going to be the Bills putting the Patriots in the ground.
It's
and
also
saying, this is our division now. Off you go, old man.
it's
We'll
also
see you
Cam
later.
fighting for another contract.
Yeah,
True.
So there could be 14 points in it for the Patriots, is what I'm saying, which makes the Bills kind of aspect of 31 or 32 much more attainable.
32 and a half it would have to be.
Yeah, I think I can see it.
Yeah, got it in the end. Got it in the end, boy. Don't do maths, do we? We don't do maths on the Brit Iron.
Wait, what you saying?
Sam definitely doesn't anyway.
He can't remember what he just said, but he just calculated 40. I think it was 45, and then dead on 46, which wouldn't cover the spread. Yeah, it's alright.
No, 46 minus 14.
You'll be right, bud. Don't worry, bud. Don't worry.
It'll be 46, but that won't cover the spread. You need 46 and a half.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
have to beat it.
You have to beat it. Yeah. So for next week, Sam, I'd like you to
Brush up on
get
that,
better at maths, and then also get better at betting as well. Thank you.
I'll give you some
Fair
tuition
enough.
if you want, mate. We'll do some tuition. It's fine. It's all
Yeah.
good. I'll help you out.
paid for tuition, of course.
Yeah, I'll help you out, bud.
But yeah. But boys, that is every single game previewed once more. All 16 games on the week 16 slate. And what a week it's going to be. So
Important.
a lot of fantastic matchups there. Only a couple of games that have no meaning, which is great to see at this point in the season. So maybe that's a bit harsh, but no meaning towards playoffs. But you catch my drift.
Broncos and Chargers, get out. See you next year.
At Bengals, at Texans.
Yeah, don't come for me, please. Don't come for me. But unless you boys have any further points to raise, I believe that is all we've got time for today. So, as ever, be sure to head over to YouTube, go like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, like I always forget, to turn on the notification bell.
Hey, there it is.
It will let you know when we've posted out an episode, and you don't want to miss out on a single second of the Brit Iron Podcast. Also, check us out on both Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Brit Iron, so go join the conversation and get involved with the communities over there. But for now, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.